Well, there's nothing that will send shivers down people's backs like ABBA. No, I was only joking. There is nothing that will send a shiver down your spine than the mention of a credit score. And if yours is like many people's, it could be a little messed up. Something went wrong over the years while you were managing that score, and now you want to improve it. So we have the answer for you. Please welcome back to What She Said, the Meridian VP of Community Banking, Dillista Cruz.
Thanks so much. Always great to be here.
Okay, so let's start with exactly what a credit score is and why it's so important.
So I heard this really good analogy, which I like. So when we were in grade school, we were judged by letters, A to F, determine how well we did. And as adults, we're judged by a 3-digit credit score. Kind of like that. So really a credit score determines our credit worthiness and our ability to pay back debt. And so when we're looking for credit, whether it's banks, store credit cards, loans, they will use a credit score to determine A, will they lend to you, and B, at what rate will you get it. So very important to understand credit score and know what your credit score is.
Right.
How early do we start building a credit score? I mean, if you're, let's say, 12 and you have a bank account, does it start then or?
It wouldn't pick up from your bank account, but it would pick up once you start borrowing. So your bank account, you're not borrowing your
credit
deposit.
card.
So it would be, credit card. And so, for example, my son, I got him a credit card, and it's a $500 limit, I think, in year one in university. But he's going to start building credit. And I told him very clearly that when you get that, you're building credit, and make sure that you're paying this on time all the time.
Okay, but I also heard that if you have a store card or you have a credit card, make sure the balance is at zero, but never cancel that card because canceling a card can affect your credit rating.
Yeah, so I don't actually know the answer to that, Kate, because I think that it's good to have different types of debt. So that's one of the things that determines your credit. So whether it's credit card, a mortgage, a line of credit, different debt helps your credit score because it shows that you can pay different types of revolving debt.
Right.
I don't know if it actually negatively affects to cancel credit now, unless it's your only credit card. If it's your only credit card, then you're going to have no credit, so you want to carry it. But if you have five...
No, I think it does because I went through a stage where I had an HBC card and I had this and I had that, and I thought, I just want to pare it down to one because this is too complicated for me to... I mean, there's 5 different... So, and I think it did. And when you apply for one, it also affects your credit score.
Absolutely.
And I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Why?
So, there is all this criteria and the analytics behind it, and companies like Equifax uses Beacon Score. And so there is a bunch of stuff which I don't even know the methodology as to why and how they do it. But the more you apply for credit, it goes in and checks your credit score. You will start taking negative hit. It could indicate that you're in a situation where you need credit. And so they have all these factors that actually determine that score. But you're absolutely right that the more you apply for credit. So you have to be really careful, right? So you don't want to be going, every time there's an offer at a store, saying, oh, you know what, I'll get that because I get 10% off or I get this incentive to do it. The more you apply for credit, it will start taking a hit on your credit because they do an inquiry. Right. And so that's something really to be conscious about, that when you're applying for credit, they're doing an inquiry on your credit, and that negatively affects your credit score.
And also, if for some reason somebody gets a hold of your cards and does something or other with it, you should then check your credit score, because something happened to me where I don't know, somebody stole some information, and I was away on vacation, got 6 credit cards that I never applied for. And then when I went back, my whole credit history, I suddenly had 12 kids and was working somewhere else. And
it's identity theft.
No, identity theft. Like you need to go check,
Yes.
and you have to change it back. You have to check if something like that happens.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, because that is a point I wanted to make. Is that a good practice is to go in annually. You can get it through Equifax or TransUnion and get your full credit score. It's not just about your score; it's the full report behind it, and then you can see, what credit cards. Maybe you've canceled credit cards, is it still there? But it also will show you, is there fraud? was there identity theft? And you're saying, I never opened up all those accounts, or I paid off that line of credit. Why is it showing a balance? So it's critical in your case exactly to go in there. And the report is quite extensive. And for the layperson, they may not necessarily know how to read it as well. So this is where also you could take that credit report in and go into an advisor and say, help me understand that, because there's all different types of codes and things on it.
Okay, but basically, so like it's a 3-digit number. So
Yes.
what's good and what's not so good?
Yes. So the score ranges from 350 to 850. And anything over 700 is really good. 800 would be really, really good. Anything under 600 is not so good.
Not so good.
Not so good.
So how can you get it up? How can you get it up, so to speak, Dillis?
Well, that's a loaded question.
That's what she said. Yeah, there we go.
See, credit score can be fun.
Who knew?
As we digress. So, again, we talk about this all the time. Make your payment on time. If you can't pay off the full balance, doesn't matter. Now, you will be paying high interest rate, but make the payment on the date. So make sure you do that. And a little tip is whatever your date is on your credit card statement, you should, a good way to do it is go use online banking and do a pre-authorized payment for that prior to that statement date.
Right.
So, and it can be minimal. You could do $50, but just that way you've made the minimum payment in case you're juggling a few things, and then you can go in and top it off. But don't miss that minimum payment, because that is going to hit your credit score. Watch how many credit cards you have. I talk about this all the time. So try and keep the number of credit cards you have to a minimum. It's okay to have more than one, but don't get carried away with it. The more credit you have, that's going to negatively impact your credit score. Mm-hmm. The debt you're carrying on your credit. So if you have a line of credit and you have a mortgage and you have like 5 credit cards and they're all at their balances, if they're all at their limits, that is going to affect your credit score as well too. So these are things that really important to be aware of. But on the flip side, if your credit score does go down, just by paying attention to this, you can start making your credit score better. It takes a few months, but it'll start creeping up and getting better.
What I want to know about is Meridian's restoration program. I've never heard of anything like this.
Yeah, so this is so fantastic because I don't know of other financial institutions that offer this. So we may find ourselves, a life event happens, job loss, a divorce, sickness, and all of a sudden our credit gets really bad and our credit score is bad. We haven't been able to make the payments. Meridian has a program where they will work with you and really sit down and coach and counsel you, try and consolidate that debt so that you can make the payments and start getting your credit score back in place. And I have a really good story that illustrates this. There was a young couple that at one of our branches that tragically the wife got diagnosed with breast cancer, and then following that, the husband got diagnosed with cancer. To make a long story short, they came into us about 12 months later through conversation. They were expressing that it was difficult. They sat down with one of our advisors who sat down and looked because they had both couldn't be working. Their bill payments weren't being made. They were just shy of bankruptcy. We sat down with them, consolidated all their debt, and got them back on track. And so I'm happy to say in this case, both are back working and both are back healthy. But this was a situation where their credit score was horrible. And all the creditors were causing so much stress because they weren't making their payments.
And that just makes you sicker, the stress, right?
Yeah. So this restoration program is available, and it is not for everybody, but there are ways to improve your credit score, and Meridian does offer this. If a life event has happened, we certainly work with you.
Okay, so how do people connect with you for that or for anything else?
Yeah, so go on our website, www.meridiancu.ca, and look at a branch that's closest to you and go in and make an appointment with an advisor.
Is there any credit score that can't be fixed?
I think in the right circumstance, it depends on how you got there and the circumstance, but I think that through time, it can be fixed. It just may take longer.
Well, how long would it typically take?
So a few months if it's not that bad and you start making your payments. But if you've actually got a really horrible credit score, you've gone bankrupt, it could take 7 years to regain your credit score.
7 years?
Depending if you've gone bankrupt, right? So there's all the in-between. But for the average person, we can get it back. It can take a dip, and if you start bounding that 650 or whatever, you can start getting it back in a few months.
So what's your score when you're bankrupt? 0?
It takes it down, yeah. You don't have a score. don't have a score on that happy note.
That's enough of that. Dilys, thank you so much for joining us. And again, where can people connect with you and some of the invaluable help and advice?
Yeah, go on our website, look for a branch closest to you, www.meridiancu.ca, and we are there to help you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is What She Said. Stay with us.